Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of Garage Studio Modelers. I'm Dave Forrest with my good friend
Harvey Lowe.
And in today's episode, we're going to switch it up a bit, or at least for me, because I usually do armor.
Yes.
I've got 3 Luftwaffe 148 scale subjects.
You were complaining to me off camera a while back, for months. I'm only building armor. I can't get my Mojo for aircraft. He comes and he builds 3.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it was over the holidays. I picked up. Actually, I have to. Before we get into too many things, I have to really comment on the detail of these kits and the quality of these kits. So let me just walk through them. So I've got the new Eduard FW190 A7, which was released late in 2023. I've got their new 109 K4, and I've got the Tamiya 109 G6. All of them are exceptional kits. They go together like the newer Eduard kits are well engineered. They have beautiful rivet detail, very subtle, and you can see, or maybe you can't, but we'll get into it. We'll get into some close-up shots. Really offers a great palette for doing a nice, worn, weathered look for an aircraft, which I like. Some aircraft, we talked about this in previous episodes. Some aircraft modelers are very clean builders. That's their thing. I personally, and it's all personal taste. At the end of the day, you do this for you.
Yeah.
But I like to have them weathered.
We're dirty modelers. Basically.
We are. Yeah. We are down and dirty. And maybe that's why if you think about going back and forth between topics. Yeah. That's why I like the armor so much, because there's so much artistic license with weathering.
Yeah.
You have to be a lot careful. You have to be a lot more subtle with aircraft.
You do.
It's a different. I've talked about it before. It's with all due respect to the armor modelers, and I consider myself an armor modeler. It's different. Like, you have seams. You can't hide mistakes.
It's more surgical.
It is. Surgical. It is. So it kind of I think a lot of the work I did previously, it kind of helps to prep for what I want to do, my vision of how these things, how I want them to turn out.
I think that if an aircraft was weathered in service, it should be weathered in a model. That's just me. It's just part of the accuracy.
Well, the photo. You go to the photo.
Go to the photo. And on the photo, I'm going to use a shameless plug. In the current issue of Fine Scale Modeler, there's an editorial in there by Aaron Skinner. Talks about how some people had said that, you remember the episode on the Yamato that I did on Garage Studio. A gentleman, and everyone has their opinions, said it was a little bit too weathered. Well, I sent in a photo of Yamato on some of her supply missions in the South Pacific Islands, and one shows her really dirty. But that went into the editorial, actually, with another gentleman saying, yeah, these things got dirty. Yeah. They were not clean. But it shows you that we all have our opinions on weathering. And for me, it's all about the photo, right? That's right. If it's going to be a Japanese Zero at Pearl Harbor, clean is clean.
Yeah, I mean, look at that photo that we were looking at of the Hellcat, of O'Hara's Hellcat.
Yes.
That has all the bullet holes
and
patches and how weathered that is.
Yes.
So I think you can't argue with the photo.
You can't argue with the photo, and we've got these 3 going back to the quality of these kits. You're saying that they would rival Tamiya, right?
Yeah, I mean, Edward will always fight you a little bit, but like the way they go. I mean, for me, I hate filling seam lines.
I do too.
Like, it's the worst. The worst experience of building an aircraft. Like, and you're filling them. You're filling them along the wing. Where the wings join. You're filling them along the spine of the aircraft underneath. But fortunately, the 109 has a natural panel line along the joint.
Upper and lower?
Upper and lower, yeah. So that takes care of some of that. There's a little bit of filling, but it's minimal. And what I really like about the Eduard kit, they finally got it right in the in the K, where the wing to fuselage join actually goes along a natural panel line. Where everything up to this point has like a V. Right in the you have to fill and sand and all that. And like, why did it take so long for Eduard to get that?
Right.
And maybe there's a good reason for it. I don't know, but they finally got it right with the K. So I have like 2 other K kits.
You have more than one?
Yeah, I bought a couple.
That's a serious addiction.
But it's beautiful. Like, it just blows together. Same thing with their new generation of Falcos. Right, so their new generation, like they released the series of Falcos back, I think in the 2000s. Yeah. And you can tell the difference where the older ones are like a 4-digit serial number.
Oh,
the newer ones are 5 digits.
Is that how you do it?
Yeah.
I did not.
And the new ones, it's simplified. Like the old one, the knock against them was that the build was a little bit more complex. You had all of these, like the cannons of the wing root. That was a separate piece. You have to put them in the noise fit. The engine, the cowling was a bit problematic. But modelers still managed to build some very nice builds out of them.
Of
But the new ones are sublime. Like they just blow together, no filler, right? So they're almost to me esque in their. So Edward, I'm a big fan of the new stuff that you guys are doing.
I have never built a quarter scale Messerschmitt 109 or 190. I have one. Maybe it's time.
Yeah, I think, with Masters of the Air, right?
Yeah, Masters of the Air.
And this beautiful jacket that you have.
Yes, just in celebration of Masters of the Air, right? And this jacket, by the way.
So tell us a little bit about the jacket, because there's some history there.
So this is an authentic World War II, what they call an A2 leather flight jacket. These were worn by fighter pilots and some bomber crews, although for the high altitude bomber crews, they wouldn't be wearing this. It would be not enough at high altitude. But you'd see like Mustang fighter pilots, B-47 fighter pilots. It's an A2. And this particular jacket is of the 54th, the Carrier Troop Transport Group. They operated in the Aleutians as a first service start. And then they went on to Southwest Pacific. They actually, I didn't know this, they operated a few B-17Fs that had the ball turret removed and were used to strafe Japanese runways in New Guinea.
That's fascinating.
Right? And so this jacket is, it's an original, it's quite good condition. I don't wear it all the time, but for you guys I will.
It seems to fit well.
Fits me well. It's a 44, and the guys were a lot smaller back then, so I'm a 42. So if you're into these jackets, it's a different hobby. There's a lot of videos out there.
I couldn't fit into
You could?
I could not fit into one of these jackets. I'm just built differently.
Yeah, well, it's the original leather patch. It's named, and like I say, it's got a escape whistle. Right, they used to have these clinging here to blow in case they have to get out of the aircraft and there's other crew to warn or something. But I wear it for this. It's very warm.
Yeah, no, it's a lovely,
and it's perfect addition to
to talk about with Masters of the Air, which I've been watching. We're only, I think the 4th episode dropped a few days ago. I like it.
Yeah,
I mean, I think you could do a little bit more on some of the character development.
I think so,
and whatnot, but the action scenes are very well done.
Say, what's your thought now that you've got these Axis fighters here? We were talking about this off screen with Masters of the Air. Did you find that these fighter planes in the movie were coming in like way too fast?
Yeah,
like frontal I get.
Yeah, because the closing speeds are 700 plus miles an hour. But yeah, some of them, like when they're I don't know, like they're diving through. It's hard to say.
I'm not an expert,
but it seems a little bit quicker.
Like we're going to get emails. No, they weren't. It just seemed to me that coming on the tail of a B-17, you see them in the gun camera. They're a little slower, but great movie.
Yeah, but we're nitpicking.
Series.
The fact that they're doing this.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And it looks the way that the action scenes look absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, so we're quite in. And I think was that a mojo for you to do this?
No. This happened before.
Bless you. We have no edits on this.
Oh my goodness!
See, this is why it's not good, But.
I read somewhere that it's not good to hold in and sneeze because it can give you a brain aneurysm.
Oh,
so that's
know
why.
that.
That's now, much to my wife's chagrin. That's why if I have to sneeze, I let her fly.
So today,
because I don't want to die. I don't want to die.
You know what? People say that they enjoy our videos because of the banter. We don't cut anything out.
Oh my goodness!
So what are we going to talk about further today? Your techniques?
Yeah. So I've been trying to figure out how do I get the look that I'm in my mind. How do I get to that point? What are the techniques? And so I did a lot of research, watched a lot of videos on YouTube about how guys do it. And I think this pre-shading thing, and I'll do a bit of a demo. I've got some work to do on this this 109G from Tamiya, but I like to black base the aircraft, so I'll coat it in a Mr. Servicer
This
black.
one too is black base.
Everything, they all started off black
so
like this.
White on the fuselage.
Yeah, well, this is so the on this one here, I've got the blue, the RLM 76 done.
Ah, I see.
Right? So,
I get you.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the other guys up to that.
Right, you've done the blend, you've applied the...
Yeah, and then I'll do the top color and then the modeling and all of that. So maybe we'll do the modeling in a subsequent episode.
Yeah, I like modulation too.
Yeah, I think you have to.
You have to.
I think for me, at least I do. I like the variation in color, but you got to be subtle. Like you can't.
Oh yeah, an aircraft.
Like an aircraft, you got to be.
But then you mentioned you have to have enough contrast that when you weather it, it doesn't die.
Yeah, yeah, and you can see we'll get close in, but you can see kind of the. Let me flip this guy over. You can see. So yesterday I went over this with some of the lighter colors. So I just highlighted, picked out some random panels.
Beautiful.
Right, like the access hatches and whatnot. Similar to what I would do on a tank.
Yep.
Right, it's the same type of thing, but you're working on a much finer. Because you have all of the rivet lines and whatnot. So another nice thing about the Eduard aircraft, because of all the rivets that they have, they really lend themselves very well to this type of weather. Right?
Well, another shameless plug, in the next issue of Scale Aircraft Modeling, I did a 148th B-17D and did a lot of the modulation. So that's a two-part, so please support.
Yeah, that's a beautiful piece. And that's very weathered.
That's very weathered. That's the swoosh.
Yeah. Like people thought the Yamato was weathered. Wait till you see this.
Wait till you see this
B-17.
It's weathered.
Very weathered.
Based on photos.
Based on photos. Nice. So we'll get into it. I'll show how I kind of create the contrast with white, and then go over it a little bit with the actual camel color. And but it's not, like, all the hard work is doing this. Like there's always
the fine work in doing
to get that, like that's where you pay the price.
Yeah,
trying to get that look right. So once if you spend good time on doing this, then the other parts are easy, right? So we'll switch up cameras and we'll get right into it.
See you back.
Okay, so we're gonna start. I guess I don't know if you call this pre-shading the model.
Black basing.
After black basing it. The other thing I should mention too is after. I like to give it a light sand, right, just to keep it as smooth as possible. So after I spray on the Mr. Surfacer, I'll give everything a light sand, just kind of, get a nice...
What do you use to sand it with?
I'll use one of these polishing sticks.
Oh,
like
the sticks.
Very soft.
Yeah, this one's good. The white one is the best.
Yeah, because it just removes some of the grit and just gives a nice...
What's the grit on this thing? I can't remember.
I don't know.
It's the best, the white one, guys.
Yeah, and then I have this other thing that I ordered, which I love as well. It's from Ammo. It's like a 400 4000. So this is probably 4,000.
That's nice.
And just for getting in there.
Where'd you get that?
I ordered this one. I think I got this from B&A World.
Did you get any for me, or did you just yourself?
I just ordered one for me.
These are nice.
To try it out.
These are nice.
Yeah, they're good. They're great little sticks for kind of finishing.
Yeah, especially in the ring root area.
Yeah, anywhere, right? Like where you have. So it's a nice.
I was just feeling it's very nice.
Yeah, it's a nice smooth finish because it's all about the finish.
Yes.
So when I'm spraying, I like to use if I'm painting black, I just use white, and I love lacquer paints. I think they just give the best smoothest finish. Usually when I spray, I have a spray booth, I have a mask, because we're in the garage. So
your black, is that also lacquer?
Yes. Oh yeah.
That's the Mr. Surfacer?
Mr. Surfacer, yeah. Okay. And I use the leveling thinner to thin, and then it's like you can see it here. It's kind of like a milk, like a 2% milk.
And you thin
very thin. So it's probably like 60% thinner, 40% paint. I spray on a fairly low. Let me just turn on the compressor.
You decant the Mr. Surfacer. I know we've debated. I use the Tamiya out of the spray can, the fine.
Yeah, I use it in the jars. I got it in the jars, and I just like another paint, right? I don't use it. I have some of the rattle cans. I just haven't.
I love
success
it. I love it out of the out of the can.
Other people, I just can't get it to work.
Even on 72nd, right out of the can.
So key difference. So I'm doing the Tamiya 109. So the key difference between the Tamiya and the two Eduard kits is the lack of riveting. So there's no there's some rivets, but not the way you have them here. Oh. So you can see here, like on the Falk Wolf, how intricate the pre-shading is, because I'm going inside each of those little panels for the riveting.
This one does not have rivets?
This one does not have rivets, as you can see. So I'm just working in larger panels, but the principle's the same.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to work on this middle guy here. So I'll just
While you're doing that, why do you think they didn't add rivets? Because you know some people love rivets. Does that bother you that it doesn't have rivets?
No.
Because you know, if you're standing 48 feet away from the aircraft, would you actually see rivets? Maybe that's why they didn't add them. You know. I don't know. I don't like riveting my models. It's just too much work.
It's too much work. Like other than just replacing something that's been damaged.
Yeah. Well, that's a nice tight line there.
I'm trying. It takes a little. There we go.
And that's a fairly low.
I'm probably sparing it about like 8 to 10 psi.
Yeah. I see what you're doing.
Because I got the Mac valve.
If you can't see on the cameras, you're doing the little panels on the ailerons and and they're just random, right?
Yeah. You just
now I find using those splatter masks on this, it's kind of less controlled than you doing it this way. Would you say?
Yeah. I mean, it might be more convenient. I thought about using, especially on this one, because you don't have. Like you have a much bigger palette to play with because you just don't have the same.
But with a splatter, the edges are more hard.
Yeah.
Right. Soft edge is not bad.
Yeah, it seems to work.
Oh yeah, you know you've already covered a square inch-ish.
Yeah, it's easy.
Within like what, 2 minutes, 3 minutes?
Yeah, it's pretty. I might add. You know what? I might just add a bit of paint. It might be a bit too thin. But the ratio I gave you is right. It's about 40% paint to 60% thinner. Just add a little bit in here. Because otherwise it kind of dries. Even with the leveling thinner, it will dry on the needle a bit. So let me just thicken it up just a tiny bit.
You know, as you're doing 3 of them at the same time, I do that too. I find that if you build 3 models with more or less the same stage in painting, you actually get more done, right? Because it's a scale economies. Your airbrush is out, you can do 3 and you got 3 rather than 1 at a time, right?
Yeah. And then you're in a flow.
Yeah. Do one, do the other. I'm doing that right now with 2 Japanese aircraft. Just exactly the same colors on both aircraft.
Yeah, that's a little bit better.
And by the way, while Dave's painting, we do read all the comments, and I know we've got a lot of very positive comments. Thank you very much. And some of you have made links. We don't have it's merely the time in case of missing people to thank everybody, but I know that a lot of you guys link to us. We appreciate that. We just kind of do this when we can. So thank you. We do read all the comments. We just can't get back to everybody, but we do read them.
Yeah, that's well said. That's well said. So I'm just kind of building up just to give some definition. Right? I'm just building this up very gradually. You
know, it almost seems as if at the end of the day, when you look at your FW190, that it was white with black lines on it, like from far away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I like to do both techniques. For the underside of my aircraft, I just use white. And then just use black line because I pay more attention to the top sides, but you like doing the bottom in black too.
Yeah, well, because it's practice.
Yeah, it is.
Right, it's good. I find it's really good practice. So, like for these bulges in the wings for the wheels, I'll pay a little bit more attention to because they would sit proud. So I want them to pop a little bit of a lighter color, right? Again, artistic license.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's some folks out there saying, you know, that.
And maybe some people don't like black basing and pre-shading. That's up to you.
Yeah.
We're all. Yeah. You just do your model to the way you enjoy it.
Exactly. And this is good practice too for really refining your airbrushing skills.
You know. On a side note, I have a house full of girls, my wife and daughters, and I do their nails, eh? And they love it. They say, well, how do you get the skills of doing nails? They go, airbrushing, right? And paint application.
Is it just out of, like with a brush out of the...
Sometimes with a brush, they say, well, how do you get your nails without any paint lines? So it's just practice, right? And then I think next thing I'm going to try some airbrushing, right?
You could do mani-pedis.
I could.
That could be a new career for you. In retirement.
I just do all of the... women's nails in RLM 02 or Dunkel Galb, they wouldn't know. They wouldn't know the difference.
Start a new trend.
Yeah. I think we'll call the company Luftwaffe Nails.
Luftwaffe Nails, yeah. RLM Nails.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty quick, Dave.
Yeah, it's, you know.
Now you're just doing random squiggles.
Yeah, just building up. And again, I'm trying to stay away. Like you see how you have those kind of that pre-shading along the panel lines.
Yes,
Just
you
'cause
leave the black.
Yeah, you're just kind of staying away from those.
Yeah. Now it's true. If you did a white base with black lines, which I still do, it works, but you only get the panel lines showing through. Right?
I guess, you know. Yeah, I suppose. I suppose there's different means to the same end.
Yeah.
But for me, I like priming it in a darker color because it just takes care of all of the shadow. And that's from armor, right? Where
True.
The nice thing about, you know, if you do it like I like dark brown or black on armor.
Yeah.
Because it gets into the shadows and you get that. It kind of helps you deal with that.
Although Rinaldi mentioned to me once that he prefers white because the dark darkens the color. Well, I mean, everybody's different, right?
Yeah, but yeah, it's true. I mean, you got to be careful about that. You don't want your model to suck all the light out.
I know that figure modelers, a lot of them do the priming in black.
Just
and then they work up.
Just to know, so you can see here, I kind of spritzed a little bit. Doesn't matter. I mean, you can try and cover it up. You can try and, you know.
You made a mistake?
All the time.
Just an amateur day.
I'll tell you. But you can just go over it, or the subsequent coats will cover it, so you don't have to worry about it. Again,
that's true.
That's why this is great for just practicing.
That's true. When I do this method and there's some splatter, I actually leave it.
Yeah.
Because the paint it actually is not a bad effect.
No. So there's a whole wing.
Wow. 7 minutes, 10 minutes?
Yeah.
If that.
Maybe 10 minutes, maybe less, not even. Yeah. And you just go panel to panel.
So I would think that you could, if you sat down, you could do that whole model in less than an hour.
Yeah, I mean, this took me less than an hour, and you're a lot more.
Yeah, you're pretty refined there.
Right.
But again, you know, we haven't talked about this yet. Maybe you're going to go over it later. But the subsequent coats really have to be thin, right? Otherwise, you'll lose it.
Yeah.
You'll lose it.
Yeah, exactly. But you don't have to be as precise in the application of the coats because you've done all the hard work now in terms of creating that contrast.
Because you've added the, what do you call that color on the 190?
The RLM 76.
That's already on, and that's enough? You're stopping?
I think so.
Okay.
I think it's enough. Like I've gone over it with, like I've lightened it a bit.
It's not bad. I can see it.
Like it gives a bit of tone. Like we'll see what happens when the other colors are on.
But then we talked about this before. If you're doing this method, the trick, and I make this mistake, is you got to leave some contrast, right?
There's knowing when to stop.
Right. You got to know when to stop. Otherwise, you put a wash on it, it's gone.
Yeah, you might lose it all. So sometimes it's good to stop and walk away and come back, the next morning or the next day or whatever.
Yeah, when I'm building models, my wife sometimes says stop and walk away. She says that to me a lot when I'm building models. And just a comment.
You sure it's just when you're building models?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Well, there you go.
That's looking great.
Yeah. So again, you're kind of creating the contrast and the variation in this step. When did
modulation start? When do you think, Dave? What year was it?
Oh, good question.
Maybe 15 years-ish in the 2000s? Because another big thing was panel lines with dark washes in the 90s.
Yeah.
Right, that was big. You see the Nats, everyone was with black panel lines. Yeah, I do this for armor as well. I know you do too.
Yeah. I mean, it's... So here, like on these radiators, I'm just going to spend a little more time because I want these to be lightened. And then I always have the option of going over with the like this will be RLM 76 as well, to go over that with and add a little bit of white to the RLM 76. And then if it's too much, I can knock it back by just spraying a light coat of the base color. Like you can go back and you can correct, right?
No, I know I don't have the B17 with me, but what I did there was I used different colors other than white on black. I used different shades. But you got to go lighter on the top coats.
Yeah, and that's what I did here too. Is I added some brown.
Ah, there you go.
So you can throw like I might do that here, because there's a lot of dirt and stuff, just to give it that tone variation. Now I did it on this, but I kind of lost a lot of it on the other side. If I'll turn it over so you guys can see, but I tried to do it here. There's a little bit.
I love it.
But I'll have to go over it, right? So I tried to do that there, but I think I lost it a bit. So I'm just going to do this for a few more panels, and then we'll switch gears, and then we'll move to the Eduard 109K.
And by the way, the safety issues, I know we're spraying lacquers without masks, but we're in Dave's garage, so it's pretty well ventilated. So like you say, we usually wear masks.
I don't know about you, I'm getting pretty high.
Yeah, when I spray lacquers, I usually wear a mask. I don't know, I should wear a mask when I spray Tamiya acrylics. Sometimes I don't. Do you? If you're just doing Tamiya acrylics, do you wear a mask?
It depends. If it's just a little bit, no. Yeah. If I'm doing a lot, I will. Yeah. You should always.
You're pretty close too. That needle head is about a couple 5-6 millimeters from the surface ish.
Yeah, it's about half an inch ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to get real. Is it about a quarter of an inch maybe?
This is the scale though for the big boys, right? You guys have ever been to competitions like the Nationals?
Yeah.
Quarter scale aircraft.
Quarter scale, yeah. Or like single engine prop is the most hotly contested categories out there.
Arguably, eh?
I think so. You come home, like you go to a big convention or a big show, and you come home with a medal with any color.
And we're going to the Nats in Madison, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
You going to bring these, perhaps?
Maybe. That's how they turn out.
Yeah.
Probably. Not these, maybe other ones the subsequent builds. Like you want to bring your best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hope to go in Japan in 2025. I go there regularly, but I hope to get to. I've never been to a model contest there, so maybe anybody watching these, put a post there of any shows that are in Japan, and you can follow up.
So I think you just kind of work it.
It's looking good.
I'm gonna go back and maybe add a little bit more contrast.
I know some guys who have, like the pattern is heavier here, lighter there, really big over there. Like they just mix it up.
Yeah.
Some people then skip a whole panel, leave it black. I've seen that.
Yeah, you could do that. Like again, you can kind of create that contrast, right?
What we do for models.
I love it. I love the hobby. And again, although I guess I'm known as mostly an armor guy, my first passion was aircraft. When I was a kid, it was like those Matchbox kits.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm working on a Matchbox Zero. 72nd Zero. My first foray into modeling was figures. I started in figures.
Was it really?
Yeah, it's figures, yeah. And I'm getting back into it after all these years of doing aircraft armor and ships. And I want to do Gundam. I really want to do a Gundam model.
Yeah.
And I know our channel doesn't cover a lot of that stuff, but at least even this technique, you could use it on Gundam.
You can use it on anything.
Yeah, you could.
So yeah, just going over, just highlighting the access panels.
Yeah, right.
Just to give them a little bit more color.
Nice.
Right. So.
Looking good. That whole underside wing.
Yeah, and again I use the glove because to stay with fingerprints.
Right.
Right. So I use this to handle the model,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't get fingerprints. Looks pretty, So we'll finish this off, and then let's go to the. We'll put the camel color on the K. I need to get some tape for that, actually.
Tape?
Yeah, because there's the fuselage is one color R.
Oh, I see.
The wings are another.
Well, like in modeling, you spend a lot of time masking. A ton of time masking, spraying for like a couple of seconds, and what it is.
It's all prep work.
It is. Dave, you have too many models here. Way too many.
I don't know.
See, I'm just saying.
What Carolyn tells me to.
I only have 5 unbuilt kits in my stash. 5.
No, you don't. That's an outright lie. I'm surprised your nose isn't growing.
Add a couple of zeros to that.
Yeah, we'll be at Hamilton. We'll be selling off some of our kits.
Yes, come visit us at Heritage Con. Like, we'll be entering, but also vending. Yeah, I would say, look, while you're doing that, you're looking at your collection. Quite of a mix of aircraft and armor. Equally, I'd say. And some Star Wars stuff.
I love the Star Wars.
Yeah, you know, one day we'll do some sci-fi. I mean, I did the Millennium Falcon millennials ago, excuse the pun, but I've got the 1350 Enterprise that maybe one day I'll do here.
I love to do like a Y-wing or something. The Bandai Y-wing, that's just such a gorgeous ship.
That's 72nd?
Yep.
And these techniques can be used in sci-fi.
Absolutely. Even anywhere. Anywhere you want to create some contrast. So the nice thing about this is this will help. This is good practice for doing the modeling.
I suppose it might be controversial of me to say this, but if you are serious in competing, would you say that you have to modulate now? Have to? What are your thoughts?
That's a good question.
Right? I mean, it's a wow factor when you go look at a model content.
I think so. I mean, that's personal preference. But
I know, but
I
still,
think so.
Right? A lot of the models you see on the tables now are modulated.
Like I don't know that I could. Like I'm not a great builder, right? Like,
Says who?
Says me. I'm not like in terms of, getting everything true and finished. Like I'm not.
I've never seen you build a limited run resin kit, David.
Exactly. I won't do that. I won't subject myself to that. So for me, and I'm not a good scratch builder, so for me to be able to compete, it's got to be on the finish. The only shot. I mean, not that that's, the only reason.
And again, we're not saying that you must compete, right? It's
No.
a hobby about what you want, right?
But I think it's the weathering, and a good part of the weathering is
modulation. Yeah,
modulation.
Yeah.
Right? So.
How long have we been at this now? 20 minutes?
Maybe. I don't know, I lose track of time.
Yeah, because, look how much you've done in 20 minutes. And you're pretty quick.
Yeah. So it doesn't, and once you get the hang of it, it doesn't take long at all.
Yeah. No, that's great. Great.
So we'll leave that there, and we'll switch up colors, and we'll start doing the Arlem on this one.
Fabulous.
Okay, so now we're going to put on some of the camouflage RLM 76 for the Eduard K. So this is the scheme I'm doing here, and Eduard does a great job with the color callouts, and they always reference the Gunsy lines of paints, both the aqueous and the Mr. Color lacquer-based paints, which again are my go-to paints. I love these things between these and the Tamiya acrylics and lacquers. And you'll notice that there's a slightly different color. So late in the war, there were two types of RLM 76. There was a traditional kind of blue tinge, and then there was one that's kind of almost like a duck egg blue, like what you would see on the underside of early war Spitfires.
Honestly, didn't know that till now.
So I'm going to use a slightly different color. So that's why I've kind of masked off the area here. I'm not going to do the whole thing on camera, but this will help me for later. But again, just following, kind of the wings were in the RLM 76 that has the blue tinge, and the fuselage has the, the duck egg blue. So that's what we're going to do here. So always have your color references handy. And I've mixed up the paint, and again, it's the same type of ratio, 60% thinner, 40% paint.
Right.
And you just do the same thing. Now, the nice thing about this is a little bit easier. Because you're just kind of spraying on, you're just kind of layering on the color. So I don't have to worry about, I'm just putting on the color. Now you'll see here, In addition to the white, I put some brown just to give it some contrast. Now again, I lost it on the Falk Wolf, but let's see if I can do a better job of maintaining it here. But you're just building up very light layers.
Now the figure guys often use this technique called glazing. It's a much thinner layer of paint for figure guys applied by hand. But you're almost thinking that this is almost equivalent to a glaze, where you're muting the modulation colors underneath and making them blend. But it's got to be thin, right?
It's got to be thin.
It's got to be thin, and you got to go light. Go in layers.
Like, you just see how lightly I'm building that up?
I can see the difference.
Right?
Yeah, I can see it.
So this is actually easier.
Well, it's easy in the sense that you got to know when to stop, right? Because if you keep coating it, you cover it all.
Right. Yeah. Well, you're right.
Which is my problem. I say, okay, and it's gone.
You're right. So you're just kind of building, but you don't have to worry about getting in there because you've created a little contrast with the white
going over it.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, always never when you stop spraying, never start spraying right on the model. Right? There's always some paint spatter, so I always spray off. Now I'm going to start building up.
And by the way, if you guys are using this technique, if you do cover something, you go back, right, and then redo the modulations.
Yeah. You can always correct. So I'll just kind of meander around the model.
I can see already. It's
right? Yeah, I mean you can see the difference.
Maybe even that's enough. Look at that.
It's a little bit more, but yeah, it's you know, you start. Now I'll do the same thing here, where I'll add a little bit of white to this and go over it and highlight some things, just a little bit.
Right. That's good idea.
And I'll sand it. I'll give it just a quick
still
buff.
Sand it?
Yeah. And I'll still gloss coat it.
Would you sand this if it was an armor model?
No, I wouldn't do no.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe on the turret top or something.
But you wouldn't be as fussed about it.
Yes, right.
As with an aircraft, that's for sure. So I'm going to start adding color, right? I do love these Eduard kits. Like I'm dying, like I have a couple of zeros. I'm going to get that
A6M3. Yes.
I love the.
I will probably get one too. It's Japanese for me.
Yeah, I'm surprised they don't have the whole catalog yet. Well, that's because I'm not 32nd scale. Harvey's all into the 32nd scales. All of a sudden.
Just so you know, we had a hobby shop in Toronto downtown. Unfortunately, closed. The gentleman's retiring. It's called Hobby Game Zone. Great store, but he's retiring. And I bought two very large display cabinets, which now I'm able to fit, like quarter scale twin engines. I wanted to have a cabinet to fit my 48 B-17. And so Dave's making fun of me now that I'm into 32nd because I got somewhere to put them now.
You're all. I mean, that right turn was almost as sharp as my right turn into 48 scale aircraft.
Yes, that's true.
But I always had a predilection to 40 scale aircraft because you can see.
You do. But you've got a couple of 32nds here. I can see quite a few. I just find the palette in larger scale. Well, I love 72nd. Don't get me wrong. It's really one of my true loves is 72nd aircraft. But I don't know. I find that you can't. Can you do this on 72nd? It's harder.
Yeah, you could.
But it's like
we were talking the other night. You came over. We were talking about that Flyhawk
Dauntless. Oh
what a gorgeous little kit. I mean, I'm not into 72nd scale aircraft, but that is a gorgeous little kit. You could do it with that.
I'm gonna try it.
Especially, I mean, you got a custom micron.
I do, yes.
Right, even with this, I think you can even with a 0.3 revolution, you can do it. So by the way, I'm using my HPB, which is a 0.15 needle.
Oh, it's a 0.15 you got there. Some guys still use.
I'm pretty sure it's a 0.15. Maybe 0.18, but it's okay. It's.
Some people still use the Pash AB Turbo. I don't even
know what that is.
I have one. It's an older Pash gun that has turbines spinning around like a wheel, and that pushes the air out. But it's very hard to clean. But you can get that thing down to a fine pencil.
That sounds very dangerous.
I still have mine.
So I'm just going to do some work on the film. Again, I'm not going to do the whole thing because I think you get the picture here. I'm just building up the color.
But I can see you're not just covering it in one swoop.
No, you're building it up gradually.
Yeah,
it's all
you're almost
control.
modeling it.
It's almost
modeling it, not modeling it.
It's just building it up. And you don't want to go too high. Like actually, sorry, I'm going way higher than I should because all of this is camo, so I should pay attention.
Yes, you should.
So I should just stay down here because you want to keep this for the camouflage color.
So would you, on a serious note, then would you on this scheme you always would do the undersides first?
Typically, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I guess you could do the top. It's a matter of preference, but I just like the unders because then I mask off.
Yes,
I have to mask off. Right, and it's the first. You know, it's kind of the first foray into the color. But that's it. I mean, it's pretty. You know, just very. Build up light, just adding color, building it up very lightly so that the underlying, you know, the underlying modulation, if you can call it modulation.
I would.
I guess underlying whatever the white, so that it's just, you know, you're just gradually reducing it.
Just me personally, like you, I have to modulate. I can't spray a model one color now and not do anything to it.
No,
yeah, I just can't. It's just me personally.
Yeah.
Again, it's personal preference.
I'm the same way.
The only disadvantage of modeling is it does take you longer to complete a model. Right?
Yes, yeah. But the other thing to notice too, or to think about is again, it's the where was it serving?
Yeah.
What period of time? Like if I was doing a Pearl Harbor Zero, you would be
true. Very true. Very true.
Like you wouldn't modulate it anywhere near as much, if at all.
If at all, that's a good point.
Right.
They were spit polished clean.
This is a late war aircraft, so it was pretty. You know, they're pretty beaten up. They didn't really maintain them.
And you know, on a similar topic, if you're talking about Zeros, early war Zeros, you and even some 109s, they were very glossy.
Yeah,
you can see the gloss in those black.
Especially
and white
for some of the aces.
Yeah.
Right, because they would have their planes polished to get better aerodynamics. And
so I agree. You're right. I never thought I would not model an A6M 221.
No, but if you were doing an A6 M3 that was serving off the Rabaul, or Solomon Islands, like they would get weather.
Oh yes,
right. So you would do it for that, right? So again, it comes back to the subject matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you're creating a story. When you're doing this, it's really part of the storytelling.
I think even the Battle of Britain, right? Weren't Spits and Hurricanes fairly clean? Would you say?
Well, I don't know. I think they were getting them up in the air as quickly as possible, right? I mean, the German aircraft were probably a little bit cleaner, to be honest.
Yeah. Italian aircraft, because I do Italian aircraft too, they were pretty clean. With the fancy camo patterns, they were kept pretty clean. At least the ones that I've seen. Looks good.
Yeah. Just you're building it up, and you can see the difference in the colors.
It's a nice color.
I mean, it looks like so. This isn't finished. It's far from finished. So I'll continue building up.
Yeah.
Again, just where's this stop and end? Because you don't want to.
You don't want to cover it too much.
You don't want to. Yeah, you don't want to do what I did here.
That's my bad habit. I tend to cover it too much. Oh no.
That's a rookie mistake.
I know it is.
But I did the same thing. And then probably like I'll finish this up and then I'll go over it, but I'll add a little bit of white to the base color, highlight it, similar to
right on top of that.
Yeah, I didn't do it. I didn't, or maybe I did. I can't remember. I certainly did it. You can tell here, right?
That's beautiful.
You can tell here.
Yeah.
So that's the look. I mean, that's what I'm looking for. Is that kind of variation, right? So in my mind's eye.
But again, are you going to apply wash over that?
Yes.
Yeah. So you got to keep some contrast. You do.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah. So and I'm going to gloss coat it.
Yes.
So that the wash stays in the
Yes.
panel lines, right? It doesn't stain you.
What gloss do you use?
I'll use this guy. X22.
Really?
Yeah.
Mixed thin with what?
With the leveling thinner.
Wow. Yeah. X22. Okay.
Yeah. Probably.
You know what I like?
Put a wet coat on. Yeah. Thin it. Like I might thin it. Maybe the inverse, right, where it's 40% thinner, 60% this, because it's already kind of thin.
You know what I like? I like that UV cut stuff.
Yeah, I have that too. I mean, that's good too.
That stuff's. But this stuff is good because it's acrylic. It doesn't smell as much.
But because you're using the lacquer thinner, that's So that stuff, the UV stuff, the UV cut stuff is great as well.
Yeah, I use that on my B17. Would you cut this with Tamiya thinner? itself.
No, I'd use the leveling
You
thinner.
always use the
Always,
leveling
yeah, for me, lacquer. Because it just levels it, especially on the gloss coat, you want that
Yes.
smooth mirror finish.
Yes.
Right? So you put it on wet, is what I learned from the, like, that's what Brennan was telling me. Put it on wet. So I'm just building up the color here, and the only reason I'm doing that is I just want to use the rest of the paint that's in the cup, so I don't have to, it's easier to clean.
And as I mentioned before, folks, I tend to do more than one model when I'm doing this. Some people say, how do you get so many models done? Well, you got a production line. You're spraying 2 models with that color. That's what I tend to do.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing here.
Why break out the airbrush and do one model and then another one?
Exactly.
I think I got like 15 on the go.
It's like Regensburg in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll go with
I must say, though, watching Masters of the Air, it gets me back to another B-17 perhaps.
It does, yeah. So I gotta off camera, I gotta mask this off, but I'll do that after. But just to build up the color here, just to use the paint.
Yeah, the swoosh I have is very large, and I'm hoping one day to donate it somewhere. And I hear that they're restoring it at the United States Air Force Museum. Man, I'd love to give the model to them, but we probably have enough stuff on display.
I don't know, I think it'd be pretty nice kit. Beautiful.
Yeah,
kit.
that looks good.
Getting there. Well, I think that's it for today. So we'll so the next episode, at least the one that I'll be doing, we'll kind of continue to evolve this. So off camera, I'm going to finish. I'm just going to advance everything. So I'll start putting camo on this. This might be kind of finished for the most part by the next time we get together, and then I'll kind of work on these other models to show how I get to that point.
Terrific.
Right? So that's it for today. So thanks everybody for hanging out. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you all in the next episode.
Happy modeling.